This is Tar Heel Talk, an in-depth look at the issues and people making news in North Carolina. Here's your host, Sonia Williams.
Memorial Day weekend marks the unofficial kickoff to summer and summer activities, from swimming to grilling and a host of activities in between. Well, today's experts are here to tell us how to enjoy these fun activities and stay safe while doing them. They are Jan Parker, Injury Prevention Specialist with the Office of the State Fire Marshal, and Kelly Ransdale, Regional Education Specialist with the National Fire Protection Association. Welcome back to Tar Heel Talk.
Thank you.
It's great to have you both here together.
We're happy to be here.
Now, Memorial Day weekend, I know people, if they didn't grill out yesterday, they're planning for their big cookouts for either today or tomorrow. But grilling, while it's fun and we all love to do it, it can also be dangerous.
That's right, Sonia, and we want a lot of our viewers to think about that. And if they're going to be doing a lot of grilling, and we've got some holidays coming up and a lot of fun things for the summer, that's the perfect time to check out that grill and make sure that everything's working properly, especially if we're talking about a gas grill.
And you know, in North Carolina, since we're a subtropic, you know, we can have warm weather in February all the way until Christmas. And so grilling has become something that people do almost all year, but that doesn't mean that you shouldn't maintain your grill and that it doesn't need to be checked periodically. And so we kind of use Memorial Day as the official kickoff of summer, which is when grilling peaks. And there's a couple of things you can do to kind of make yourself safe with your grill. And so the first one is to make sure that you have it properly secured and have it away from your railing and away from your house, not on wood decks, but actually on patios or in a place that's non-flammable. And then also to make sure it's in good working order. And so we brought some soapy water because propane grills especially, where the attachments are, they can have leaks on them. And so, Jan, you want to tell them how to check for that?
Yes. Well, Kelly was thoughtful enough to bring a little spray bottle here, and you want to use equal parts of water and soap, and look at all the connections and the hoses, and just sort of you're checking for leaks to make sure that you don't have any cracks or deterioration in the connections, because that's where a lot of people get in trouble. If you smell gas or you see bubbles, when you spray this with the soapy water solution, if you see bubbles, you can crack open your tank or your lever, and if you see any evidence that you're having a leak, then you need to shut it off right away and have it repaired before you use it again. And if you're ever cooking and you smell gas or you have some type of incident, you need to stay away from the grill and call the fire department if you do have a fire. And one thing that all of us should do is be attentive to the buildup of the fat and the grease that sometimes occurs, and this will help prevent something from happening, like a flare-up or a fire that can cause other issues. But like Kelly mentioned, start with the placement of that grill and be sure it's not on a combustible surface or anywhere near something that would burn. And keep kids at least 3 feet away, and keep them, pets and children need to be away when you're cooking.
And you know, people use propane, they also use charcoal, but especially with propane gas, one thing is we have a lot of auto igniters. And so if you light your grill and it goes out, it is so important that you cut the tank off and you lift the lid and leave it for at least 5 minutes, because what happens is that propane can settle and it can ignite. And so that is the thing about, if it were to go out and the propane were still to be off, it needs at least 5 minutes of ventilation, and most people don't know that.
Right.
The other thing is, if you're using charcoal, charcoal can produce carbon monoxide. And in our area, we've seen people that have brought in their grill to the garage or even inside their house, and that has caused carbon monoxide poisoning. And a small amount over a long amount of time, or a big amount in a small amount of time, can cause death. And so it is a big deal, and we want to make sure that no one ever brings a grill inside to cook. Unless it's designed for a kitchen type setting, which is normally electric.
And don't bring your, say you're grilling outside, it starts to rain, don't bring that charcoal grill into the garage as well.
Right. And sometimes it can actually suck it, even if it's not inside but too close to a door or window, it can actually suck the fumes into the house, so you need to be mindful of that too. And if you don't have charcoal lighter fluid, then maybe just change your plans or take time to go to the store and purchase it. Never ever use gasoline in the place of. And also, once the fire's going, don't add a little bit more lighter fluid, because that can also cause an injury, a burn injury. So it's a lot of fun, and they can be safe, but you have to be mindful.
Absolutely. Yeah. And I understand that grilling can cause house fires, thousands of them every year.
It can, and we find that lack of maintenance is what usually that occurs from, but also a buildup of propane. So our gas line runs underneath our house, and we came back from vacation and had this smell in our house, thought it was the trash. And when we started looking around, there was where our connector pieces underneath our house were, and it had filled our whole house with propane, which is so scary. Wow. And so a candle or someone smoking can be a deadly thing and can cause an explosion. And so it is nothing to play with. And so we encourage people to maintain their equipment. And if you smell a smell that, if you take the trash out and there is an odor in your house, they scent propane so that it has a smell, and also natural gas, and that is to be a warning sign. But most people have no idea what that smells like. I work in this business and didn't, so we want to make sure people know that if you smell this smell, to take action immediately, call the fire department or have your gas company come out and check it, because that can be a life and death type thing. So that's an important reminder.
What type of smell is propane?
It's a rotten egg smell. So it smells like bad trash or rotten egg smell, and that is the scent that is normally put in there.
People tell us it smells like garlic a little bit too. So just an unusual smell that you identify, and just, But if you're grilling, again, always shut your tank off and be sure that you don't leave it on. And again, when you get ready to ignite, always raise the lid. A lot of people think that's not necessary, but it really is important so that you can prevent an injury.
Absolutely. How can people find out more information about grilling tips?
So we have some great grilling resources and videos that are really fun, and also materials at www.nfpa/grilling.
Okay, so that's the website, nfpa.org/grilling, and they can get all this wonderful information on how to do it safely.
Yes.
Okay, we're going to
don't leave it unattended.
Right, that's very, very important. Absolutely.
Yes.
We're going to take a break, and we'll talk more in just a minute.
Thank you.
Up next, keeping kids safe in the water and in cars. We'll have tips after these messages. As we approach the summer months and all the fun activities that come with it, we want to provide important information to help families keep their entire family safe. For that, we turn to our experts, Kelly Ransdale, Regional Education Specialist with the National Fire Protection Agency, and Jan Parker, Injury Prevention Specialist with the Office of the State Fire Marshal. Well, now that the weather is heating up, pools are opening, and our neighborhood pool opens this weekend. Kids are anxious to get in the water, but there are some things that we need to know to keep them safe. Where do we start?
Well, I think we start with reminding parents that if you've got children around the water, they need your undivided attention. And we know, unfortunately, it can be one of the best family outings and fun activities in the world, but we know that this also could be very dangerous. So I've got my Water Watcher card, and I wanted to tell everyone that if they go to the website poolsafely.gov, they can order some materials to keep their family safe, and they can get a Water Watcher card. And this is intended to give the adults that are in the group, the person with this wearing the Water Watcher card, it's their full responsibility not to be distracted in any way, to keep eyes on the children, and to be watching at all times. And they know that if there is anything, they want to be within an arm's reach of very small children, and that if they see any activity that is concerning, that they take action. They know CPR, and they would know how to do emergency care if anything goes on in the pool that is not looking good to them. But this helps remind everybody that someone, because if not, we might think, you know, Kelly might think I'm watching and I think she's watching, but this, if I have to leave for any reason, I'm going to pass it off to Kelly.
So every cookout, every gathering around water, this is a great thing to have in place so that it gives you an extra layer of protection. Even if there is a lifeguard on duty, it is still great to designate a person that won't be on their cell phone, that will have eyes on and be responsible. And so this is a great reminder so that you can pass the water washer tag.
Right, and because it only takes a few seconds for something very tragic to happen.
It does, and one of the injustices of movies is that a lot of times they'll show a person drowning and they're frailing and very loud, but unfortunately drowning is a very silent thing, and that is that children, if they get into distress, they go under the water and they don't have the wherewithal to scream because they're frozen in fear from that. And so unfortunately, drowning is a very quiet thing, and so that's why it's so important to be scanning the pool and always have someone available that is attentive to the swimming.
Now, when the kids are in the pool, what kinds of things do they need to have in there, not just to have fun, but also for safety purposes?
Well, if you have non-swimmers, you want to be sure that they have some type of device. And Kelly, do you want to show them the puddle jumper for the younger children?
So this is one that people may not know about, and it's actually there's lots of different brands of them, but this is called a puddle jumper, and it actually provides, it is an approved flotation device, which means it provides buoyancy in the water, and it has a weight on it. So this is for children that are between 30 and 50 pounds. It is U.S. Coast Guard approved, and that's what we want people to look for. Is it a U.S. Coast Guard approved item? Because if it is, then it provides life-saving assistance to a person with it. And so these are great. They look like water wings, but they have this interior portion that also provides in the front and the back buoyancy. And so Jan brought some of the water wings. Unfortunately, people think these are safe, and they are they're more of a toy than they are a life-saving device.
So we want people to recognize the difference. And for an older child, or maybe someone on a boat or lake, we would recommend one similar to this, and this is, again, is Coast Guard approved, but it would be safe and the one that you would want to use. Pool noodles, they're a lot of fun, and yep, they will keep you floating, but we don't want anybody to think that that's a life-saving device. And if you have a pool, I think you need to have safety equipment like a, you know, an approved type of float that you can actually toss out that has a rope on it, or maybe a float so that if you saw someone in trouble, you could assist them, because you might have someone that is a non-swimmer, and you need to be prepared for that.
And we also, you know, encourage people that if they're going to a pool, or if they have one at their house, that they have four-sided fencing with self-latching gates. And the good thing is that there are codes and ordinances that have gone in that have required that. And the reason for that is it keeps children from being able to access the pool easily. And so that's a couple of things you want to make sure is they have a fence. It's a four-sided fence that's self-latching. And then there's been some changes in the drains, and the Virginia Graham Baker Act went into effect several years ago. And that was an act that went in for the loss of a precious child, and she actually was stuck to a drain, and it creates a suction. And so they put in new standards where pools have to have either a dome shape. If they have one drain and they're grandfathered in, they have a dome shape cover on the drain that prevents you from entrapping yourself, your hair, or your bathing suit in the drain. And then for newer pools, they're going to have two drains so that it prevents children from being sucked down, you know, as they're playing and diving in the bottom. But those are some of the safety features that we're seeing out there, is equipment that is safer and provides protection. And the reason they're put in place is to keep children that don't know and don't have the wherewithal to know how to protect themselves from wandering in and getting into that water.
And also, the above ground pools are very, very popular now, and we can remind the owners of those that you need to always remove the ladders. And that's something that you need to be mindful, because unfortunately all of the above ground pools may not have the four-sided fence and the locking gate on there, so a very minimum would be to remove the ladders.
And you know, we have thunderstorms that are popping up in the afternoons now, so we do want to remind people that if it lightnings, to not go near any type of water that's outside and to seek cover indoors. Because lightning is a risk, and if you can hear thunder, that means you could be at risk for lightning.
So that means get out of the pool.
Absolutely. And so when you first hear that thunder, it is time to get out and not stay in the pool to see if it's going to come.
Right. And I want you to tell viewers again how they can find out more information, get those Water Watcher cards, and stay safe this summer.
The poolsafely.gov website is a wealth of information for families, whether you're just going to be, going to a lake or to the beach, backyard. It covers all types of water safety, and it's an excellent resource for all of us.
Great tips. We're going to take another break, and we'll talk more in just a minute. We'll be back with more on summer safety tips after these messages. Welcome back to Tar Heel Talk. I'm Sonia Williams. Memorial Day weekend marks the unofficial kickoff to summer and summer activities. And on today's show, our experts have been providing some important tips to help us enjoy these activities and stay safe while doing them. With us again, it's Jan Parker, Injury Prevention Specialist with the Office of the State Fire Marshal, and Kelly Ransdale, Regional Education Specialist with the National Fire Protection Association. Summertime, 4th of July, we want to pull out those fireworks, but they shouldn't be some that we buy on the side of the road, and we shouldn't be the ones doing it.
That's right.
Yeah.
That's exactly right. We know that they are very popular.
I'll hold Smokey.
Yeah, keep Smokey safe. But unfortunately, there are no safe fireworks, and Kelly's going to tell you what we have.
States are different, but we at the National Fire Protection Association, we don't give safety tips for consumer fireworks because there's no way for us to keep people safe. So something as simple as a sparkler may seem really innocent, but the problem is that they burn at 1,200 degrees, which means any child that is holding a sparkler burning at 1,200 degrees, you bake a cake at 350. And so can you imagine 4 times that? And just one mistake, they may be playing, and if they were to hit your clothes or your skirt or even grass or their eyes or anywhere else, it can give a severe burn. And so we recommend that people go to a public display. And we have amazing fireworks shows in North Carolina. We are so lucky. Every community, county, state have opportunities for people to go out, and those people are going through a special training to keep you safe, and they are beautiful. And so unfortunately, even though they are available from a safety perspective, we always recommend that you leave it to the professionals and go to a public display.
Excellent.
And the ones that are available here in North Carolina that can be purchased at just about anywhere, even the grocery stores during this season, they say that they're harmless, they're not going to explode, they're just going to snap, crackle, and pop. But we know just the mere fact that children being given a lighter or some type of ignition source, that in itself is very dangerous. But there are no safe fireworks, and as Kelly just said, the only way to be safe is to leave it to the professionals.
Absolutely, that's good information for parents because you get the sparklers and your kids are asking for them. It's good to know that that's can be a safety hazard for your child.
And also, people use sparklers sometimes on their cakes and cupcakes, and there are lots of chemicals that are emitted in that flame, and so you don't want to be eating that. And so we recommend use a birthday candle. There's plenty of them out there, but try to leave the sparklers away because just one mistake can cause a severe burn, and we don't want anyone, in spite of the J.C. Burn Center being a wonderful thing in North Carolina, we don't want anyone having to experience that pain and suffering.
Absolutely.
And you're holding Smokey.
Smokey,
yes. Well, that's Sparky's his cousin. But Smokey wants to remind everybody that unfortunately some of the fireworks that your neighbors may have brought back from other states that are legal in other states, but certainly not legal to use here in North Carolina, they could, be explosive. They could even, some of these could land up, on top of their house house or in the debris in the yard. And so that's why we brought Smokey along,
Yes.
to remind everybody to be very careful and mindful of the period coming up where we'll have a lot of people that are celebrating with fireworks, even though
Absolutely.
they are illegal, to be mindful of that and take precautions and keep your yard clean so that you will not be a victim of fireworks.
Well, and you know, we had huge wildfires last year in North Carolina in the western part of the state. And so anytime we get dry, you know, we had 8 inches of rain a few weeks ago, but now it has gotten very dry. And so using those can certainly create a forest fire and could endanger you. And so we have prevention tips around keeping your house safe, but unfortunately, if you choose, in North Carolina, the only kind of fireworks that can be sold are ones that do not shoot off or don't leave the ground. But still, they can cause severe burns, and that's what we're trying to avoid, is that tragedy.
Right.
And I know that Fire Prevention Week is coming up. It's just a few days away, and Smokey, again, is another good reminder of that. Talk a little bit about that and what will happen during that week.
Well, Fire Prevention Week is always observed in October, the week of recognizing the Great Chicago Fire. But the National Fire Protection Association, who they establish the theme each year, and they're actually the ones that will announce that on June 1st. So that's what's coming up. That way, all of the fire departments and fire service throughout the country and actually beyond can begin to prepare, because it's a big, you know, it's a big deal for us. And we have a campaign that will work from June 1st all the way through the next year. But the official week is in October. So we're excited, and you can check out this website, firepreventionweek.org, and you'll be able to see the theme when it's announced on June 1st.
So yeah, on June 1st, make sure you check out that website.
And you know, with these 90-degree days that you know, we have already at the end of May, it's a great time to talk about hot cars.
Absolutely.
And we talk about fireworks, but really something that here in our state starts in February and runs the whole year, but especially during the summer months is children left in hot cars.
Yes. And we say that over and over again, and yet it seems like almost every summer you hear of a story of a child being left in a hot car.
Over half of these children were forgotten, and the others were, many of the others were children playing in a car. So even if it's in your own driveway, lock your car. And if your child goes missing, let the car be one of the first places that you look for that child.
You know, and the other thing is people think that if we crack the window, it'll give them a little air. I'm just running into the store for a minute. But cars are like convection ovens, and that is on a 90-degree day or even an 80-degree, within 10 minutes, it can be over 120 degrees, which is enough to kill a child. And we know that seniors and also children's bodies can't compensate for the heat. So never leave a child alone in a car, no matter how quick the errand, because it can be a deadly thing. And we also want to make sure the public knows that if you see a child in a car, please call 911, because you're not going to get in trouble for calling. Law enforcement and fire and EMS agencies would rather you call, and they get there and everybody be fine. But we recognize people that are heroes and actually call. And so we want to empower people to know that to take action if you see a child. Be a little nosy and look at cars in the parking lot and just make sure that someone didn't make a poor decision or forget. You know, we're all busy, but they may have forgotten a child. And so establishing those routines, putting things in the back seat so that you put your purse or your cell phone so you have to go back there every time.
Create
Those are
a
just
reminder,
a few things.
creating reminders. And if you're, you know, many times people have told us that if it's the circumstances are out of the norm, like maybe it's not your routine, and a lot of people don't believe this can, you know, happen, but we all know we're very busy people.
Absolutely. And people can find out more information about how to keep their kids safe by going to the website safekids.org. That can give them some good tips and information as well.
Very good.
Jan Parker, Kaylee Ransdale, it's always a pleasure to have you here. And thank you for being with us, and thank you for all the wonderful tips that'll hopefully keep us all safe this summer.
Thank you, Sonia.
That's it for this week's Tar Heel Talk. To comment on this or other episodes of the show, like us on Facebook, follow us on Instagram, or send an email to tarheeltalk@fox50.com. I'm Sonia Williams. Thanks so much for watching. We'll see you again next week.